Okay, so when you go to graph your V-shape, not graph it, find the equation of your graph of your V-shape. You might have a V-shape that is pointing down. You might have a V-shape that's pointing up. It either opens down or it opens up. I'm going to show you an example of each of these. This equation right here, the absolute value equation, looks a lot like point slope form. The only difference between this one and point slope form is instead of parentheses, we have the absolute value bars. But the M next to it, it means the same thing. It still means multiply. Also, the X1, Y1, it has to be the vertex. If you don't know what the vertex of the absolute value graph is, it's the point where like the two sides of that V meet. That's the vertex. So the X1, Y1 has to be that vertex for this equation to work. So we also need to find the slope. And if you look carefully and you think about skiing or riding a roller coaster or anything about slope, there's actually two lines that come together and make this V shape. So there's going to be two different slopes. You're only going to use one of them. So we only have to find one slope for this equation. The slope that we're going to use, excuse me, the slope that we're going to use for this equation kind of wish I put this in a different color. We're going to use the slope of the right side of the V. It doesn't matter if it's facing up or facing down. It's going to be the right side, the right diagonal. So you've got your left and your right side. We use the slope of the right side. Left side, right side, we're going to use the slope of the right side. So we're going to start the pink one together. And first I need my slope. So slope is still y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals, so let's see, negative 2 minus 5 over negative 8 minus negative 10. So I get negative 7 over 2, which is negative 7/2. Remember, for slope, it is improper fraction. Do not turn it into a mixed number. Do not change it into a decimal. Improper fraction. If you have one negative divided by one positive, the whole thing becomes negative. So I have my M value. And then the vertex is going to be the x1, y1, and my vertex is negative 10, 5. And so we're going to do the formula. Y minus y1 equals our slope, absolute value, x minus x1. And since I had minus a minus, I changed it into positive 10. So that should be the equation of that absolute value. There are two other things you have to do besides equations. You have to find your domain and your range for every equation. So last week we talked about the domain being the x's, the range being the y's. So we're going to look at this V shape. And we're going to look how far to the left and how far to the right does this go. So if I imagine this V shape, I'm going to kind of put it in like a rectangle real fast. An ugly rectangle real fast. I don't know why I went so far out on that. So if I'm thinking left to right, these would be the borders for the left to right. We're thinking the x values. We look at what's the smallest x value and what's the largest x value. So looking at all these x values, the smallest x value is negative 12, and the largest x value is negative 8. Negative 10 somewhere in the middle. But I don't need that one. I only need the smallest one and the biggest one. So negative 12 to negative 8, we write our domain as Smallest one, less than equal to x, less than equal to largest one, -8. The range is going to work similar, only we're doing the y values. So looking within this absolute value area, we're looking at the bottom to the top. We're looking from the bottom to the top. So when we want to look at the y values, the lowest y is -2. The biggest y is 5. We're looking at the y values in those ordered pairs. -2 to 5. So I write -2 less than equal to y less than equal to 5. So we always write it in order from least to greatest. It's always less than equal to. You have to do that for every equation on your project. If you forget anything about your project, I posted a rubric. And the rubric, if you open it up, I don't even know where mine is right now. Hold on. Let me go find it. It'll be on the video. So your name project. Here's the rubric. If you open it up, it says everything that you need to have to get points. So it tells you in words here. And then down this way, this is the actual rubric. And you know what? It says rough draft and Desmos on here. I have to change that because that's different this year. This was 2021. Sorry about that. Everything for us is due Thursday. So don't even look at those. But you can at least look here to see what you're getting points for. Okay? So if you don't have two horizontal equations, you know you're going to lose points. You can go through here just to make sure that you have everything you're supposed to have. That's your job when you have a rubric. Go make sure you have everything on here. And then there's extra credit at the bottom too. So what you're going to notice when you go through this is not only do you have to have the hard copy where hard as in it could be a digital file, but the copy where you sketched it and found all the equations, domain and range, you have to have that here. But you're also going to create an account for Desmos, and you're going to put everything into Desmos. So I'm going to show you that next. So you're using your computer. We're all going to create our file for Desmos together. You're going to type in my equations, but later you go erase those and put yours in. So I need you to go to desmos.com, not student Desmos, just desmos.com. Then you have to sign in or sign up, log in or sign up using Google. So I'm doing log in with Google. And then I choose my school Google account. When you're in, it'll say your name in the top corner. And then you're going to go to graphing calculator. We're going to type in the equation that we just found for that pink V. Y minus 5 equals -7 x plus 10. Let's see if I can remember it. Y minus 5 equals, I type in -7, then I do the backslash, and it automatically makes it into a fraction for me. It's very user-friendly. Then I hit arrow over, and you guys have a button that will make an absolute value on Desmos. It is just below backspace. You have to do shift, and then whatever that button is called, I don't know what it's called. It's got like 2 flat lines up and down, but that will make the absolute value for you. It's right below the backslash button, or I'm sorry, backspace button. And then it was x plus 10 on the inside. So we have our absolute value graph. However, there are no restrictions. So this V goes on forever. If I zoom out and zoom out and zoom out, it's never going to end. Okay? So we have to put on our restrictions. And to do that, you're going to use either your domain or range. You might have to use both. You might only need one. I'm not requiring that you type both in. You need at least one of them to make it stop, though. So I'll show you. in order to type in the restriction. Desmos is not a thinking person. It doesn't know what you're wanting it to do. It only responds to what you type in. To type in the restrictions, you have to tell it, this is a restriction, and you do that by using the fancy squiggly bracket. When you do the fancy squiggly bracket, it knows a restriction is coming. And then I'm going to put in the domain, and the domain was -12. To do less than equal to, on your keyboard, you literally do less than and then separate button equal to, and it will combine it for you. You do the less than, then the equal to, it'll combine it. If you try to do them at the same time, it won't work. Less than equal to, then X, and then we do less than, oops, that's not less than equal to, and -8. And now it has the restriction. And I look at that and I say, oh, good, I don't even need to type in my range. If you want to use this to check that you did your range correct, you could do your range instead of your domain. So I'm just going to get rid of it, and I'll do my range this time. So my range was -2 less than equal to y less than equal to 5. And you see it makes the same thing. You need help? Did you help them? Is he caught up? Okay. I appreciate that. If you do need help, though, you guys can stop me. Even though I'm making a video, you can totally interrupt if you need help. So I put the range up there, and it still made the same shape. So having this, you're going to be able to check that your equation is correct, and you'll be able to check that your domain and range is correct. You do not have to type in both the domain and range. As long as one of them gives you the shape, you can just leave that one in there. Now, as we're doing this, if number one, you didn't sign in as yourself, or number two, if you don't save it, it's never going to get to me. Every year I have people send me an email, oh, I lost everything, boo-hoo, and it's because they didn't follow directions and save it. This will save as long as you hit the button save. So do you see there's a button save? You see the button? I'm pointing to it. You can't see it if you're watching the video, but I'm pointing to it. It's blue. So we're going to go to that button. We're going to hit save, and you're going to name it. For me, maybe I call it Vicky Name Graph Project, but you aren't going to name it that because that's not your name. Name yours with your name, and then hit save. So you have it already saved as you. Now, this is not your project. You will have to go in and change the equation later. But we're putting it there so you have it already started to save. Okay? So let's go back to the Cami file, and let's find the blue one. Then we'll go graph that one and save it. And then I'll show you how to turn it in when you're all done with your Desmos part. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is we need to find the slope, and we find the slope using the slope formula, and we're going to use the side that is on the right. So my slope formula, y2 minus y1 is going to be 8 minus 0 over x2 minus x1. I get 8 over 4, which is 2. So my slope is 2. If you have a positive slope, your v is going to be a normal v. A negative slope flips it down. That's what the positive slope and negative slope do to your v. We're going to do the equation, but remember we have to use the vertex, and the vertex for this one is at 4, 0. So you do y minus y1 is 0 equals our slope, absolute value, x minus x1 is 4. And I don't need y minus 0. That's still just y. So I'm simplifying it a little bit. So I have my equation, domain, range, So the domain is all the x's. So we're looking at this V shape and we think, how far to the left and how far to the right? We're looking at the x values. What's the smallest x? Yell it out. What's the smallest x? 0. What's the biggest x? 8. So we go 0 less than equal to x less than equal to 8. Range, we look at the y values. We look at the y values. The smallest y is 0. The highest y is 8. 0 to 8, but this time it's with the y's, not with the x's. So we've got our domain, we've got our range. Now we're going to take that and we're going to make sure it's correct. We're going to go to our Desmos, the one that we're doing together and saving. We have y equals 2, then the absolute value, x minus 4. And we need a fancy bracket. There, it started over there. We need the fancy bracket. You can try your domain. You could take it off. You can try your range. Both of them were from 0. Were they both from 0 to 8? Yeah, they were both from 0 to 8. So 0 less than equal to x less than equal to 8. And I look and I'm like, yay, that worked. I can just go over here and change that x to a y, and it worked as well, since they were both the same. What's the next thing that I should do? Save it. Don't lose it. Danesh, you got a question? So you're gonna do your care like a sideways, yeah, less than, and then equal to. See? There you go. Like literally less than equal to. Okay. When you're done and this whole thing says your name and you're happy. Oh, I got one other thing I want to show you that you could do. You don't have to do. This next step is completely optional. Doesn't count for points. You can change colors if you want. If you hold that down, this will pop up and you can change colors. Please don't get super fancy with the dashed lines and thickness and all that stuff. Like if you want to change colors, that's fine. If you don't want to, that's totally cool too. All right, but you could change colors. Maybe I want purple, whatever. All right, when you're completely done, you have to submit it to me. If you have not hit save and you submit it to me, you're only submitting the part up till when you saved last. So you better hit save before you submit it to me. To submit it, you're going to go up, see this little arrow with the box around it, that little box arrow thing? You're going to go there, and you're going to copy the link. And then when you go to turn it in, I know it's on the calendar. It's somewhere else. Is it on here? It's not on here. I'll figure out where it is, or I'll make it obvious where it is for you. But right now I know it's on the calendar. When you go to turn this in, hold on, student view. Okay, when you go to turn this in, hold on one second. There's something wrong with my thing. I gotta get out of student view. I forgot that did this earlier. I don't think I gave multiple chances. Hold on. If not, I got to give you multiple chances. There we go. There, I'll give you 20 chances. You shouldn't need 20 chances. Now let me try it again as a student. Okay, so then when you go in to submit it for your final project, it says embed your Desmos name graph right here. So you just paste that file. For the second part, points earned from your rubric from the rough draft part of the project, that's the part I have to do. You can guess what you're going to get by if you followed all the instructions, but that part I do. So really all you have to do is paste that in there and submit it. And then I get your Desmos graph. Okay. All right, so any questions about entering things in Desmos or about absolute value equations before I turn off the video?